Welcome to the deep dive. All right. You guys sent in some pretty wild stuff this week. We're looking at a BuzzFeed article, and this one lists 15 unsolved mysteries.
15.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot, actually. A lot to get through. I mean, there's true crime, there's paranormal stuff.
Okay, so we've got like a real mixed bag. Cold cases.
Right. Like a grab bag of the unexplained. I like it. So what we're going to do today, I guess, is kind of pick apart some of these mysteries, pull out the really juicy details, and, I don't know, just try to understand what makes them so fascinating.
Let's do it. Shortcut to being in the know.
Yeah. Plus a few wait, what moments, of course.
Right. Gotta have those.
So first up, we've got the Setagaya family murders. Happened in Tokyo back in 2000. And this one is just, it's unsolved still. They put so much effort into this investigation, but no answers.
It's a rough one to start with. I mean, you've got a whole family, the Miyazawa family, murdered in their home. Brutal. What really gets to me is that the killer, they just hung out at the crime scene for hours.
Yeah, that's freaky. I mean, the grandmother, she found them because they weren't answering the phone.
Right.
Just tragic. And then, you know, on top of that, the killer just sticks around.
It's not your typical grab and go. So what does that tell us? You know, is it, are we talking about a super methodical killer? Or maybe someone who's just totally disconnected from, like, the horror of it all?
Yeah. Almost like they're, I don't know, reveling in it.
Maybe. It definitely throws a wrench in the usual assumptions about, you know, wanting to get away fast.
Totally. And the weird thing is there's tons of evidence. The article mentions DNA, like, everywhere. Plus, they found the weapon, the killer's clothes. They even used the family's computer. It's almost like they wanted to get caught.
The computer thing is so strange. And then there's this detail about them eating 4 ice creams out of the freezer. Like, so casual, you know?
Right. It's this bizarre mix of, I don't know, horrifying violence and just totally mundane actions.
It's like they were following a different playbook entirely.
Right. And get this. Over 250,000 people were involved in the investigation. Over 20 years. Still nothing.
It's crazy how, even with all the technology we have now, some cases just stay cold. You know, DNA can tell you who was there, but not always why.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's switch gears a bit. This next one is older, goes back to 1922 in France, the Pauline Picard case. This one's got some really weird twists and turns.
Oh yeah, this one's a classic. Little girl disappears from her family farm. Tragic, but sadly not all that unusual, right? But then things get really strange.
Yeah, a girl shows up in Cherbourg, 400 kilometers away, looking just like Pauline.
400 kilometers.
Yeah, the family, they go there, identify her, bring her home, happy ending, right?
Right, except not so much.
Nope. Turns out the girl, she doesn't even recognize her parents, and she can't understand Breton, which Pauline spoke.
So it's like they found a completely different killer.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about that initial identification. But were they even looking at the same girl?
Right. It's so bizarre. But it gets even darker. A month later, a farmer finds a little girl's body nearby, naked, and the clothes folded right next to her, same clothes Pauline was wearing.
So was that Pauline?
Yeah.
And if so, who was this other girl? The mystery just keeps unfolding. It's heartbreaking. What happened? Who was this girl? And who did this terrible thing?
Right. It's just layer after layer of strange and sad. Okay. Let's move on from missing persons to something even more cryptic.
You got it. Let's get cryptic.
The Voynich manuscript. It's a book, or I guess more like a codex, and it's just chilling in Yale's rare book library. It's from the 15th or 16th century, and nobody can read it.
Oh yeah, the Voynich. This thing is legendary. Linguists, code breakers, historians, they've all taken a crack at it.
Yeah.
Centuries of work, and it's still a mystery.
Yeah, it's written in some unknown script. Nobody knows what it says. And the illustrations, they're just as strange as the writing. They suggest it could be, like, scientific, maybe about magic or the occult.
The illustrations are wild. You've got plants that look like nothing on Earth, alongside pretty normal astronomical drawings, you know, stars, planets, that kind of thing. But then there are these, like, weird biological drawings. Women in, like, these tanks of liquid hooked up to tubes. It's like, what is going on here?
I know, right? It's like, what was the author into? And who were they writing this for?
It's a good question.
Then there are these, like, cosmological medallions, drawings of herbs, sections that look like recipes. It's like this grab bag of knowledge, you know? Or maybe it's all just made up.
Yeah, the hoax theory is always out there.
Yeah.
But if it is a hoax, it's a really elaborate one. Like, this thing would have taken years to create, probably multiple writers.
Right. Why would anyone go through all that trouble?
That's the question, isn't it?
And the thing is, it was owned by some pretty important people. Like Emperor Rudolph II had it at one point.
Whoa. So this wasn't just some random doodle.
Right. So what's the deal with this book? What does it say? What was it for?
It's like a challenge to humanity. It's out there and we just can't crack it. Makes you wonder, what else is out there that we just don't understand?
Let's shift gears again and head to the coast of Massachusetts, 1974. The Lady of the Dunes.
Another tough one. A body found on Race Point Beach in Provincetown. But it wasn't just a body, it was almost completely decapitated. Hands were missing too.
Right. So they found her in rough shape. It was pretty clear right away that whoever did this, they didn't want her identified.
Yeah, brutal.
And they think she was there for like 10 days to 3 weeks before anyone found her.
Just lying there on the beach. Awful.
Awful. But there were some clues, right?
Right. They found that she had really extensive dental work, New York style, the article called it. It could point to, where she lived, maybe even her social class.
Right. You'd think someone would recognize that kind of work, But they asked dentists all over the state, even put it in dental journals. Nobody knew who she was.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe she wasn't from around there, or maybe she just, didn't see a dentist very often.
So despite all that, she's still a Jane Doe. They did a facial reconstruction too. Nothing.
It's so sad. This woman, she just vanished from life.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Oh, and remember that story about Stephen King's son?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He thought he saw the Lady of the Dunes in Jaws.
Yeah.
As an extra. She was wearing the same clothes, blue bandana, jeans.
It's one of those things that just grabs you, know. Could it gear.
But of course, Universal Studios, they lost all the records from that time, so dead end.
Ugh, so frustrating. So many of these cases just get colder and colder with time, Memories fade, evidence gets lost.
It's a shame.
So.
Okay, let's do one more. This one takes us to Circleville, Ohio, late 1970s, all the way through the mid-90s. The Circleville letters.
Oh, yeah, the letters. Creepy stuff. This wasn't just a single crime. It was like years of harassment. The whole town was on edge.
Yeah. Anonymous letters accusing people of all sorts of things, affairs, crimes, you name it. They were just stirring up trouble.
The whole thing was designed to create fear and distrust. Super manipulative.
Right. And it all kind of revolves around this woman, Mary Gillespie. She was a bus driver, and the letters accused her of having an affair.
Right. And it wasn't just Mary. Her husband got pulled into it, too. And then he died in a car accident.
Yeah. On the same day, he supposedly got a call from the letter writer. Super suspicious.
Extremely suspicious. Was it an accident or was it something else?
But it gets even weirder. They find a sign aimed at Mary's daughter. Really vulgar stuff. And it had a gun on it. A booby-trapped gun.
Oh, God. So it escalated from letters to actual violence.
Right. And they arrested Mary's brother-in-law, Paul Freshour, for attempted murder. Seemed like they had their guy.
Right. Except not so fast.
Nope. Paul goes to prison, they take away his writing materials, and guess what?
The letters kept coming.
Yep. They didn't stop until he got out 10 years later.
So was Paul writing them from prison somehow? Or was someone else doing it all along?
Exactly. It's like the mystery just got bigger. So who was behind those letters? Was it Paul or was it someone else entirely? It's like anonymity is this superpower for evil,
It is. How do you unmask someone who's so good at hiding?
Right. All right, well, that's a lot to chew on. Murders, disappearances, cryptic books, and a town terrorized by letters. We covered some serious ground today.
We did. It's amazing how these unsolved mysteries just stick with you, It's like the not knowing is what keeps them alive.
It's true, and often it's the little things that really get you, right? Like the killer in Tokyo eating ice cream. Or the clothes neatly folded next to that poor girl's body.
It's those details that add another layer of mystery to it all.
Makes you wonder about the human element in all this, right? The victims, the perpetrators, the investigators, even us sitting here talking about it. Why are we so drawn to these stories? Is it the need for closure? A morbid curiosity? Or maybe it's just a reminder that, there's so much we don't know.
Yeah. And of all these cases, what's the one detail that sticks with you? What's the one thing you just can't shake? Let us know.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.